Hey, what is up guys? DRC3 here, back with another My Hero Ultra Impact video, and today we are going to be doing a PvP tier list for Ultra Arena. We have these 3 new characters to add into the tier list, but before we do that, we are going to be moving around a couple of the characters who have already been in the game because the meta has just switched up so much lately. Like, some battles take 11 turns, some battles take 4 turns, and that all depends on the characters that you have. Like, ever since Fantasy Kirishima has been added into the game, they have just been adding ridiculous characters into the game that shake up the meta, and these 3 characters are no different. So for the character that we're going to be moving first, we're going to be moving Gentle Criminal from A tier up to S tier or sub meta. Gentle Criminal is really good right now because he has so much speed, just the amount of speed he has, and now that Climax Battle has been out for so long, people are starting to get him closer to level 130, especially, you know, anyone who's been playing the game for a while. And since he is a free-to-play character, most people can have this character and have him fairly high leveled, so he's going to be moved up to S tier for PvP. Hopefully, if you don't have Gentle Criminal yet, you'll be able to get him soon by completing the Gentle Criminal Climax Battle, which will probably have gone away by the time this video goes out, but whenever it comes back around, you'll be able to get Gentle Criminal. Next, we are going to be moving Mount Lady or Mount Mommy. Mount Mommy is going to also go up to S tier, and the reason Mount Lady is going to go up to S tier, I wouldn't really use her on like an attack team, I wouldn't use her in a main slot on a defense team, but if you put her on a sub slot on a defense team, because she does have 2 attack alls and those attack alls hit like trucks, she is very good on a sub slot on a defense team, especially with Kirishima being in the meta right now. She really helps your team get around that defensive character and do the damage it needs to do. So Mount Lady is a character worth investing in, and right now I'd say she is S tier for a sub slot on defense, but other than that, she's not, you know, super great for other things in PvP. The next character we're going to be moving is Purple Endeavor. Purple Endeavor, I felt like for a while, like originally I underrated him, right? And then I moved him up to A tier, and I feel like he's still kind of deserving of A tier. He could be okay in a sub slot on like an attack team, not great. But when it comes to defense, he is really good, just kind of like Mount Lady on a sub slot, and he can melt through the enemy team. He does have that attack all. His even single attack can do a decent amount of damage. So Purple Endeavor is going to be moved up to S for sub meta because he's good on a sub slot as well. The next character we're going to be moving, we've moved a couple of characters up now. Now we're going to move a character down, and this is probably going to hurt a lot of you guys, make you upset, whatever. But it is what it is. Purple Bakugo is now S tier. He is definitely not like double S tier. He's not as good as some of those other fantasy characters up here. You know, he's not going to be as good as Kaminari, who has the Pierce. He's not going to be as good as Uraraka with her crit and healing. He's not going to be as good as Kirishima with his defense. Now, I have seen people run Purple Bakugo. Like, he's still very good, right? He's still S. He's sub meta. I've seen them run him because he does scale his damage over time, and even though you might not be able to kill Kirishima with this Bakugo, you are still able to kill the other units next to Kirishima with this Bakugo's attack all if you give him a chance to scale. The problem is it does still take him a few turns to scale, which is why we're moving him down to S tier. The next character we're going to be moving is Yellow Aizawa. Yellow Aizawa is actually going to go down to A tier, and that hurts me personally because Yellow Aizawa was just he has been the GOAT for so long. He was so good in VE Tower, really good in PvP, but now any character that has just single targeted moves just isn't as good because Kirishima exists. Characters who have AoE attacks are like inherently just going to be better, or characters who have Pierce are going to be better as well. Bullseye isn't as big of a thing because, I mean, Ida's still really good, but I feel like Kirishima is more of the problem nowadays, so you don't necessarily need Bullseye. But basically, Aizawa lacks those things, which is why we're moving him down to A tier. The next character we're going to be moving, and this is another character we're going to be moving down, is Nejire. Nejire is going to be moving down to A tier alongside Aizawa. I feel like she's still a competent healer, right? But I just don't feel like she's definitely not Uraraka level. She's not Jiro level. She's not Ocean Sun or Uraraka level. She's just not any of these characters levels as for healing. And when I compare Nejire to like Christmas I feel like they're about on par really for the things that they do. They do totally different things, but they're about on par. So I feel like Najiri has to go down a little bit, and you won't see her used too much really unless people are just seriously lacking other healers. And at this point, most people have at least one of these healers up here. So you're not going to run Najiri if you have one of those healers. So that's why we're moving her down to A tier, because these banners have been rerun so much, and because these characters are more readily available to people. Najiri just is not S tier anymore. Next, we're going to be moving down another character here, and this one might surprise you a little bit, but we're going to be moving down Fantasy Deku. So Fantasy Deku is going down to S tier because he is not really good on a main slot anymore. He hasn't been good on a main slot for a long time when you're on when you have an attack team, and when you have him on defense, he's still not good on a main slot. What he is good for is he is good on a sub slot, kind of same thing as Mount Lady or Purple Endeavor. He can hit really hard. He's good on a sub slot. Even then, he's not, like, I would argue maybe Mount Lady and or Endeavor are slightly better than Deku. Mount Lady has the attack all, and Endeavor of course has his Hellfire with his other attack, but this Deku just doesn't really have a whole lot going on for him other than massive damage, and as we know, Kirishima reduces damage, so without Pierce, this Deku, it makes it hard for him to actually kill anybody as long as Kirishima's still alive. Now if Kirishima's already dead, Deku can, you know, hit your whole team for a bunch of damage, so he could still be really good. Just depends on if Kirishima is still alive on the attacking team or not, but he is good as a sub unit. The next character we are going to be moving, and this one is kind of a big jump for this character, we're going to be moving Red Kirishima all the way down to C tier, because raising, like, him doing his defense, what he does with his defense just isn't, it doesn't compare to Blue Kirishima, definitely doesn't compare to Fantasy Kirishima. He's just not as good. He's not as viable as those two other Kirishimas. Like, this Kirishima is still A tier because he does have, you know, all the barriers that he has, because he can draw aggro with one action skill, but this Kirishima just, he's not as good anymore. He can get run over by general pool units compared to other characters. Like, a tank needs to be able to tank, and frankly, he's just kind of fallen off. If they ever add in like a Dokkan version of easy-A-ing characters, this is a character that could become, you know, very good in the future, but that's probably a long ways down the road if they do ever decide to do something like that. So for right now in the meta, I'd move him down to C tier, and if you've been investing in him and you have like both of these Kirishimas here, maybe invest instead in the Blue Kirishima, or if you have the Fantasy Kirishima, that should be a given. You know, you're going to invest in him because he is a double S tier character. The next character we're going to be moving is another character that we are going to be moving down, and it is Purple Dabi. Purple Dabi was pretty good on a sub slot. Like, he was a good sub slot option, but I feel like now Endeavor's just a better sub slot option than Purple Dabi. And of course, now we have the new Mind Dabi in the game, who just kind of outshines Purple Dabi. So we're going to be moving Purple Dabi down to where he is now in B tier. I think he can be good, and given the right situation, when you throw him in a sub slot, but I feel like he's just not as good as some of these other characters above him. The next character we're going to be moving down yet again, a lot of characters are getting moved down this time, is going to be the green Shoto Todoroki. Now this guy, it kind of hurts me to do this too, because I really like this character. Like, ever since, you know, the game's released for global, Green Todoroki and Yellow Aizawa have kind of been staples to the game. They've been really good, but Green Todoroki, just kind of same thing that happened to Aizawa. If we moved Aizawa down from S, we have to move Green Todoroki down from A, just because they are not as useful as they once were, unfortunately. He can still be good given the right situation, but it is very situational to use Green Todoroki. The next character we're going to be moving, and this one is probably well deserved, and we're going to be moving down Overhaul. Overhaul is not all that useful because of his cooldowns and because of what he does. His healing was cool for a while, but that healing is just not super, like, it's not going to be super useful nowadays, and he just doesn't scale and do enough damage realistically for a character. So like, I wanted Overhaul up there because he is a villain unit, and if you look up here, we don't have a ton of villain units up in A tier. I wanted Overhaul up there, but he has to go down to C tier. He's just not really deserving of A or B tier anymore, just because of the way the meta is shaped right now around Kirishima. Overhaul really struggles to perform well in PvP right now. The next character we're going to be moving down, and this is going to probably make some people sad, but that's all right, is Mirio. Mirio is going to go down to B tier, and he's going down to B tier because we do have that whole single target thing like I was saying before. And when you have a single target character who targets like a single person, they are just not able to compete with other characters, like for example this AoE Dabi, who's just going to be able to melt a whole team. And so even though Mirio does like give evasion and stuff, it's just not it's not necessary. His kit isn't necessary, I guess you could say, and it's just not very good for what PvP is right now. The next character I'm going to be moving down is Mirko. This one does hit me a little bit in the heart. I really liked Mirko, you know, mommy character, a really good character. I invested in her right away, got her to level 100 because I liked the character so much from the anime and so much in the game. But she has to go down to B tier because she is definitely situational. There are so many good blue units in the game, so why are you ever going to choose like Mirko over Blue Hawks or over Blue All Might, who has Pierce? You're not going to choose her over those characters, and because of that, we're going to end up moving her down to B or situational. Like, she's not even as good as New Year's Deku, because New Year's Deku at least has Bullseye. So it really pains me because I like Mirko's idea. Like, as she takes more damage, as she gets lower on health, she starts smacking people around, but she just doesn't have the survivability she needs in PvP once she gets down to that low health to actually dish out the damage. So down to B tier she goes. Okay, that is the end of the characters we're going to be moving around. I'm pretty happy with this. Let me know how you guys feel about it in the comments. Do you feel like I moved any characters too far down or too far up? Do you wish they were somewhere else? Just let me know down in the comments your opinions. And then next we have the new units to place, the moment you have been waiting for. So we are going to go in order of their release, starting with the new Mind Dabi. I lost it over this character. This character is so good, like really good. They're really good in PvP, and they're also good. Dabi's also good in PvE. It is a little bit more tricky if you build him for PvP, right? Because you obviously built him for damage, and he ends up doing a little bit too much damage in PvE, but you can still work around with him and, you know, lower his damage, use memories that aren't fully leveled up on him to make him good for PvE. But as far as PvP goes, this guy is ridiculous with his Hellfire, with his Pierce, with his attack alls. It should go without saying, if you've ever even seen his kit, seen any of my previous videos, looked at his kit for yourself in the game, this guy is literally broken, and he deserves to be double S tier. He is 100% meta. I don't care what anybody says. He is so good, and if you pulled for him, you will not regret it. You will be very happy with your life choices. The next character we're going to place is Fantasy Aizawa. Fantasy Aizawa is one of those characters that, at least from looking at the polls I did on my channel, a lot of people I feel like have underrated him, because I did a poll that asked whose kit do you think is better, Fantasy Aizawa or this Vigilante Deku right here, and I think it was like 70% of you guys said you thought Vigilante Deku was better than Fantasy Aizawa. And granted, their kits do very different things, but when it comes to consistency and what they can do, like, he does defense down by 30%. He can seal skills completely, which is a little bit ridiculous. Like, he is really good. And then he binds for 2 turns on top of that. Like, Deku stuns for 2 turns, Aizawa binds for 2 turns, but then on top of binding, he has a bleed, he has seals, he has defense down. If you were to ask me personally, I'm going to tell you guys Aizawa's kit is the better kit. And so because of that, we're going to put him up into S tier. He's not quite double S tier because he is a single targeted character. If he had a multi-attack that did a seal, he could easily be double S tier, but because he does have single targeted attacks, he is going to be S tier. The last character we need to place is the Vigilante Deku, the Deku that everybody loves. I actually really like him. I like him a lot more than I thought I initially would. And my only problem with him is he takes forever to scale, and you need a really good defensive character slash healer to run with this Deku if you want him to be good. You need to give him enough turns to build up his Fajin so that he can have his Pierce and stuff like that. And so because it just takes forever for him to stack, that's his main problem. And the fact that he's also lacking an attack action skill, he only has 1 attack action skill, those 2 things right there keep him from being S tier or higher, and he is going to go into A tier. And I know that probably hurts a lot of you guys because, you know, we want Vigilante Deku to be S tier, double S tier. He's like one of the most hyped characters, but he is a general pool character. And so to expect a general pool character to be up here with, you know, look at all these. They're all limited fantasy characters, except for like with the exception of a couple of these characters here. Most of them are limited. So to expect Vigilante Deku to be up there in the double S tier, probably a little bit unrealistic. I wanted him to be there, guys. I really did. I mean, if you saw my showcase, I really wanted him to be there. He looks good. He looks great in that showcase, but really there's not a lot of teams that work with him, and that's the unfortunate part, and just it takes so long to build up the VOD gen. But anyways, guys, that is the updated tier list. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you guys enjoyed the video, please go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and thank you guys for watching. Peace.